enthusiast humans, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, hi, welcome. I'm FCA. I'm doing court recap coverage with some opinions sprinkled in of the Karen Read retrial. And today's recap is for day 9, and we were moving along quite well in today's trial, which happened on Monday the 5th. And so I am giving you this update on the 6th. So happy Tuesday. It doesn't feel like Tuesday. It's only Tuesday for me, and it's been a long week already. But we had a really long trial day today. The first half of it I listened to on Court TV. The second half I watched at home on Emily D. Baker's channel. And when we get to the second half of trial, let me tell you, it gets good. I'm going to have all of the faces. Let's get into the recap. And as always, I am not a legal expert of any kind. Emily D. Baker is a licensed lawyer, so if you want those opinions, I will link them. Both just the regular Court TV and Emily D. Baker's stream below, because I watched both. And I also have a couple additional links below, as always. So the first half of trial was going fairly normally. We had Hannah Knowles back on the scene, continuing her direct and into cross-examination. Hannah is a medical expert who is not the medical examiner. She is a type of medical examiner from the police crime lab. And she was the one who did the blood alcohol analysis. And Yannetti was trying really hard to show that, because one, they were not treating this crime scene as a crime scene at the time of when Karen Read's blood was collected. Her blood was not collected for intoxication purposes at the time. She was being taken in for a psych hold evaluation, and they always take a blood sample. And Yannetti had pointed out that they had used plasma and serum, which has a higher water content, which can falsely make alcohol in the system look like it was more than it was, and that there isn't a way to prove that that how intoxicated Karen was based on the morning her blood was taken, because she could have had drinks when she got back to John O'Keefe's house that people didn't know about, and that would change the blood alcohol content versus before. And it was also pointed out that there was a number of other factors like weight, gender, and body height that could change a number of intoxication, how it shows up, how alcohol is processed, etc. But she's kind of stuck to her guns because she's just a neutral examiner, and she was like, I followed my procedures, it came out like this, and she was very agreeable. She was like, yeah, those things can change it, but not as significantly as you might want. And overall, it doesn't matter, because I think that this would have gone over differently, because in the first trial, again, Karen Read didn't admit to anything. Having her do those interviews, I don't know why her lawyers let her do that, because she already admitted that she was drinking in the thing. The jurors already saw that. She admitted that she was drinking. She admitted that she was trying to drive carefully because she'd had some drinks. So trying to argue the blood alcohol content at this point just seems kind of moot, because her face already admitted it. So again, the first time there was plausible deniability because there was no receipts. Nobody really knew. They saw her at a bar with a glass in her hand with a clear liquid, and that's all you could see. It could have been water, it could have been seltzer, it could have been a whole bunch of other things. But Karen already admitted to that, so I don't think there's any going back to that. So trying to argue, I think the argument needs to be more, you weren't doing this because of a crime. You were doing it because of a psych hold. So she wasn't being treated as a criminal. She wasn't being treated because she was charged with something. It was just a part of normal procedures because of a psych hold. I think that would have been a better angle to go with because of what already came out. And I don't know if the defense is trying to hide, or like, not hide, but keep the juror's mind away from her already admitting it. But they have notebooks. They could have written that down. And some people feel way more strongly about drinking and driving than other people. And so if you have somebody who is super duper against drinking and driving and someone else who's super neutral about it, that's going to be a jury deliberation thing, isn't it? But it was fairly short with her. All of the witnesses were fairly short because we got through witness 18 and she was number 14. We had 6 people, or she was number 13, pardon me. And we went through 6 witnesses today. So after that police medical expert, we have Ryan Nagel. Now, Ryan Nagel was there the morning around 12:30 something in the morning, supposedly around the time when Karen hit him. And Ryan was picking up his sister with his friend. It was him, Ricky, and his ex-girlfriend Heather who were in the car, and they were there to pick up his sister Julie, who is good friends with the Alberts. He also knows the Alberts and the McCabe's very well, and that's where they were. They had all been out drinking and having a good time. Ricky was the DD, and so Ryan had gotten a text from his sister, and then he went to go pick Julie up. Julie declined the ride and said that she had another one arranged, and then he left. But he says that he saw the car. Again, he was not driving. He was the one just in the passenger seat. He saw Karen Reed's SUV. He said it was a pretty big SUV. He saw the dome light on. And he said that he remembered seeing a woman or a person with long hair, he determined to be a woman, sitting at the driver's seat, and her hands were at 10 and 2. And he goes, it's just because I could see her and the dome light was on. And he goes, he didn't see anyone go into the house. He didn't see anyone else in the car. He didn't see anyone leaving the car. He didn't see anyone else leaving the house other than his sister. He talked to his sister for a little bit. There was an unnecessary debate, in my opinion. The defense doesn't know when to stop. No matter if it's Yannetti, Alan Jackson, it's like, sirs, there are some things you don't need to argue about, because it was like, well, it was 5 minutes. Well, it was a little less than 5 minutes. Okay, but you said it was the 5 minutes before. Like, sirs, this has been a very neutral witness. Ryan Nagel stayed very between direct examination and cross-examination. He didn't shift. His demeanor didn't change. He was like, he just felt like, why am I here again, is the vibe that I got from him. He answered the questions, and he was a really good witness for the defense. He was able to say, yeah, we let Karen Reed, they let the SUV go in front of them, and they flashed their brights, to say, oh, you go, because there was a car going towards Fairview from the other direction. And they let whom we now are going to presume is Karen Reed's SUV go. And they were like, so was there reckless driving? Did they seem like they were following the rules? They understood, the driver understood what the flashing of the lights mean. And they were like, yeah, did they stay in their lane? Yeah, they just looked like they were driving. They weren't looking reckless to me. And they were traveling down the same road, going to the same house. So he was watching the vehicle, and he was like, no, it didn't seem reckless or out of control to me. So that benefits the defense. Then we go into his ex-girlfriend, Heather, who was also in the car. And she kind of just corroborated the story. She said that she remembered seeing a man when they first pulled up. But they were like, well, what happened to the man? And they were like, did you see any tire marks? Did you hear any screeching, any arguing? Both Ryan and Heather said they didn't hear anything from the car in front of them. They did not have the music playing in Ricky's vehicle. It was just, they saw the dome light on, and Heather remembers seeing a man or a guy in a ball cap, and he doesn't. Well, where did he go? I don't remember. We were all out drinking that night. She was like, yeah, I was probably impaired. We had a DD, and we went out for the intention of drinking, and so that's what was happening there. It was pretty short testimony. She's very neutral. Again, she kind of stayed neutral throughout cross and direct examination. I don't think she did anything but confuse people about, okay, wait, so you were both in the car at the same time. You saw the SUV pull up. Only one of you sees a guy in the car. Nobody sees Guy get out of the car at all. Nobody sees Guy go up to the house. Where did Guy go? What? I'm just going to blame the drinking on that, because you know what? When I've had some drinks, and I don't know how many drinks they had, if I start getting tipsy and buzzed, I don't remember every little thing either. So if they were super drunk, everything's probably just a blurred mess to them to begin with. We have another fairly neutral witness, Sarah Levinson. She's good friends with the Alberts, and she was there to celebrate Colin Albert's birthday at the Alberts house. She said that they'd had some drinks. She's been a nurse for a few years, and she answered their questions. She really didn't provide anything too eye-opening. She did mention that by the time she had left the Alberts house, she did not remember anyone she didn't know, because this was the first time that John O'Keefe would have been to the Alberts house, so it's unlikely that it was somebody she would know. The only odd thing is that when she was asked on cross-examination about the Alberts dog, she'd been over to their house many, many times, and she goes, I think the dog's name was Chloe, but I'd never met the dog. You went over to somebody's house for years, multiple times, many weekends, and you don't know the family pet? Okay. And this is my speculation, my opinion. To me, that means that the Alberts knew that Chloe was aggressive towards people and not just other animals, as they claim. And so when they had people over, it sounds like they put her being Chloe, in a kennel or in the basement or put her outside. They put her somewhere where she was not going to interact with guests most of the time, is my opinion. Then it all goes downhill from here, especially for the Commonwealth / prosecution, because we have Katie McLaughlin. Katie McLaughlin is a firefighter / paramedic who was acting as an assistant paramedic to the scene at the time, because in Canton, Massachusetts, they have their firefighters and paramedics are both one and the same. Like if you're a firefighter or a paramedic, you have to get training for the other side, because it's a small town, so you got to split duties. And so that was what she was shift assigned for that day, and she was just there to be an assistant. And Katie McLaughlin was a problem witness before, and she's a problem witness again, because she's very condescending. She has a very combative tone. And the only difference between this trial and last trial is that Ellen Jackson was trying to get his mic drop moment, and it's going to be hard for him to get those moments that he had before, because these witnesses have been here before. They know what's coming. And Brennan has done a really good job of catching it off the front. Because when Lally first interviewed people before, he just kind of asked them some straightforward questions, and he didn't get ahead of anything. Brennan is getting ahead on a lot of stuff, which makes the defense's boom moments kind of ooh moments. And with Katie McLaughlin, the one thing that had come up that was big in the first trial that just wasn't as big this time because the Commonwealth got ahead of it, was her relationship to Caitlin Albert. She had tried to say originally that she was someone she knew in high school, and the defense pointed out that she was friends, and she goes, well, we weren't friends, we are in the same friend group. And this can be taken either way. I personally took this as, no, you know you're friends with her because of all the events. Because I have mutual friends too. Like we all have people that we know that we're not close friends with, but we hang out with. And let me tell you, I don't go to their baby showers. I don't go to a good chunk of like celebrations. I don't vacation with them. With my casual friends, I do that with my close friends. I go out to places, but I don't do that with casual people. And for her to have, and they had showed pictures, and they weren't able to impeach her because she had already said, yeah, there's pictures with us together from group events. So they couldn't bring the pictures in to incriminate her. And so I didn't understand why the defense was trying. It was very odd. And it was sitting here with these pictures, and she's like, yeah, I said that we had pictures together. And if you don't know, in the first trial, there were pictures of her at the beach with her arm around Caitlin Albert. And she was like, yeah, we went to high school together. But it was like, okay, but you go on vacations, you go to the beach, you have these celebrations, you go to baby showers with her, you have pictures with your arm around her. Now, listen, when I've had mutual friend groups, it's like, yeah, we might take a picture together, but I don't have too many one-on-one buddy photos with them. So her downplaying her connection to the Alberts, which again, conspiracy, the Alberts and the McCabe's are all colluding to cover up, to blame, and frame Karen Read. So having one of the on-scene paramedics have at least a closer relationship than they're willing to admit to the Albert family is sus still. It just wasn't as big as it was before. But again, I think that was downplayed because of Katie McLaughlin's kind of, I'm going to go with snooty attitude. She was like, well, that's just a fact. Okay. It's just a fact that we went to high school together. And she argued a lot of things. She did the Jen McCabe thing where she kind of got stuck on certain words, and she's like, well, I wouldn't use that word. Okay, but the concept, do you understand the concept? And she also had a little back and forth that the judge had to intervene with. And then we had the big moment to me, which was they showed the video. Now, she had said in testimony, she said that when they were in front of the police cruiser with Officer Seraph standing just feet away, definitely within earshot, that Karen Read was screaming, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. This was not where the other paramedics, paramedic Nuttall and paramedic, oh, I forgot the other guy's name already, but he had the really short testimony. Flamati, there it is. They said that Flamati didn't remember hearing it at all, or like, I think that happened. And paramedic Nuttall had said that he remembered it when they were on the ground taking care of things, is when Karen Read said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Jen McCabe saying that Karen Read said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, just running around saying it all day. I just hit myself in the glasses. So now we have Katie McLaughlin saying, oh, it was when we were standing together and I was the female paramedic that Jen McCabe referred to. And she was like, yeah, Karen Read was frantic. She was losing her mind. She was throwing her arms around. And it was like, okay. And then they showed the video and it was like, okay, Karen Read is standing still. She seems upset. She seems distressed, but she doesn't seem frantic. Who's the one throwing their arms around in the video? That was Miss McCabe. But she was frantic. She had been running around. It was just that when we happened to get in front of the thing, she stopped for that moment. And according to Katie McLaughlin, what happened was Jen McCabe was going, calm down, like throwing her arms around and being frantic herself to calm down Karen Read, who was not acting frantic. And again, I do not understand. Why are people not comprehending that is a moment when Karen Read should be upset? She should be distressed. She should be frantic. She just found her boyfriend covered in snow, unconscious. Is she supposed to be just chill? Anywho, continuing on, Katie McLaughlin and she said that she was the one that when Karen Read at that moment had said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, she went and told that to the other paramedics who were already in the ambulance, giving life-saving measures to John O'Keefe behind closed ambulance doors. And she went to them to report that he had no allergies and no active medical conditions that they needed to be concerned about. Like he wasn't going through heart failure or renal failure or anything. She said that she had written down that information on her glove, went to go report it inside, and they were like, but you didn't memorialize, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And she was like, well, I remembered that. Really? Because everyone's saying something different. which means that the two paramedics never actually heard Karen Reed say that. Katie McLaughlin told them, and they said, yeah, she said that, because they were told that she said that, not that they actually heard it. Then we have, it doesn't get better from here. I think that this is where it all explodes for the Commonwealth / prosecution, because the very first officer on scene that they had is this guy, Paul Gallagher. He retired in August of 2024, and he was a lieutenant for 32 years. And I say that because this man kind of just represents the beginning of the end for the Commonwealth. Anything that they've built up from here, because now it seems we're going to be getting into the rest of the law enforcement agents. I also want to note that this is where I started watching Emily D. Baker. So we're going to put up the faces, because she had all the faces. I had all the faces, and you're going to be making faces too. Why? Because when Paul Gallagher was asked what his role was, he arrived on the scene later that day to collect evidence. And there was snow on the ground, and they needed to get down to the ground and see if there was anything sticking out of the snow, any clothes or items, whatever. And he chose to use a leaf blower. Borrowed a leaf blower. Here it is. That's him holding the leaf blower. And that's very important, because he's also the person who found blood in the snow, and he's like, oh, I should probably collect that. Does he call the homicide unit that they have? Does he go and get, sterilized evidence bags? No. He borrowed red Solo cups from the neighbor, who was a police officer, but still, they weren't sterilized in any way. Just the neighbor's red Solo cups. So everybody's handprints are all over them. They were stored who knows where. Maybe they had dust and debris on them. Who knows how long they were stored or where they were stored in the house. And then they were put in a convenience store bag where the officer had dumped out his snackies and put those not into a sterile evidence box or some kind of airtight, non-contaminated container. No. The emptied out Gomart baggie. At this point in 2022, he had 30 years of police experience. That's how we handle blood evidence? This is an official police photo. Open to the air and contaminants and an unclean red Solo cup. And it gets worse. We find out that he is the one collecting evidence at the scene. And guess what? He doesn't write a report. There is no contemporaneous memorialized report. And he's like, why should I write a report? I was in a supervisor role at that point. Other people write reports and I read them and file them. I don't write reports anymore because you weren't a supervisor here, sir. This is you with the cups. Those are his hands. This is you. This is you with the leaf blower. You were an acting, doing things, collecting officer, not a supervisor. No report on anything. Also, he didn't log evidence. He didn't log what he'd found with the leaf blower. He didn't log in or use any kind of marker in the police system about the blood evidence in the red Solo cups. Only a glass that he had found. But he didn't log anything else as evidence. You didn't log blood in the snow at the scene as evidence. 30 years of experience. Oh, and it does not get better, my friends, because this man said that he did not know who the lead investigator was. Yeah, you're at the crime scene. Somebody's giving you directives. He doesn't know who it is. He's like, I don't know how the DA office works. And we all had the same face, because instead of focusing on the witness who was talking, the camera was at Karen Reed. Here's Karen Reed's face, here's Emily D. Baker's face, and I have the same face. What do you mean you didn't know who the lead investigator was? Oh, it could have been anybody. And he even said that he went back to the scene with former Trooper Proctor. But he doesn't know. So, no body cameras. No dash cameras. And I would like to make a little correction that I did remember. I was so upset and freaked out. The reason why it wasn't treated like a homicide scene was because he was still at the hospital getting warmed. Because if you have somebody who was unconscious in cold conditions, he has to be warmed at the hospital first before he can be pronounced dead. So I don't, it's going to come up, but at this moment I don't remember what hour John O'Keefe was pronounced dead, but he was pronounced unresponsive when this was happening. Yeah, he did end up going back to Fairview to interview Brian Albert with Lieutenant Officer Lank, or Sergeant Lank. There's a lot of officers. No report. And he's like, no. Those people are responsible for writing their own reports. But you should have a report for your experience and what you said and did. That way you can line it up, right? So that you can look at it and go, okay, this is what I remember and this is what was said. Why is yours different? But we don't have that because he didn't make any reports. Because he's above making reports. He's in a supervisor position. This is the first officer on scene. No reports, no logged evidence. Didn't know who the lead inspector was. Look at all the faces. All the faces. And that is where we end. We also find out that this man who collected evidence, didn't log it in, he was not interviewed until witness prep of April 2024. No one else asked him any questions about what happened at the scene. Nobody had any questions of, hey, where's your report? Why isn't this stuff logged into evidence? It's almost like the lead investigator wasn't trying to do a thorough investigation. That's my speculation. And that is where we go into our ending. I will see you for day 10. I'm also going to be looking exactly like this. I own like 5 black shirts, by the way. So if I'm constantly in one, you're like, do you ever change your shirt? Yeah, they're just identical shirts. I buy them 2 or 3 at a time because black shirt. But that is where we are, and I will see you then. Bye, my lovely humans.